How do you do a task you absolutely do not want to do? Well, here are 4 tips on how to do the dang thing. It's a question I've been wondering lately. How do you convince yourself to do that one thing that keeps showing up on your to-do list? You know the one. It's not huge, but it's also not going away either. Maybe it's filing your taxes or updating your CV or calling your in-laws. It's only a quick chat. How long could it possibly take, right? Well, what is your thing? That one thing you keep postponing? For me, it's sending out some past due invoices and reconciling some expenses in my accounting software that I've been putting off for, let me check, 4 months. Yeah, that's right. I delivered events a third of a year ago, but my brain apparently decided, I don't ever need to be paid for those. I intellectually know it's something I have to do. And it's not the hardest thing in the world, yet every day I magically discover 17 other things to do instead. A psychologist would probably say I should explore the deep-rooted issues of where that block comes from, like maybe I have some feeling of anxiety about money because I was remembering the ups and downs of our family finances and I can't get past it, or maybe I have a bit of undiagnosed ADHD or some other neurological roadblock, or maybe I just lack discipline. Note to self, I should find a good therapist. But an engineer, aka me, would say, okay, well, what do I actually need to do to make this happen? And here are 4 ways to get that stubborn task off your to-do list that I'm totally going to follow this week, I promise. First step is to delete the task, is to get the task off your to-do list. Decide you're simply just not going to do it. Now, this may not be the best decision long-term, but it may be best for your short-term mental well-being. And though I'm saying this a bit facetiously, I think there is tremendous power in knowing that this is technically an option. It's not always the best option, but taking a moment to reflect on what would happen if you didn't do the thing can help you reframe how important it actually is. Because sometimes you might find that you don't actually have to do the thing. For example, did you know that you don't have to finish every book you start? Assuming you're no longer in school, if you start a book that isn't great, you can just never pick it up again, except maybe to donate it. So what happens if I just don't send the invoices? Well, first of all, we eventually run out of money here at Human That Works, and money is important. It's how I buy Legos and food and other things. And second, the IRS is probably going to have some questions about how my business went at the end of the year, but sounds like in this case, deleting the task is actually more of a hassle than just doing it. So then it's time for step 2, which is to delegate it. Can I have someone else do the task? Can someone else just send these invoices? And yes, if only I could shed this DIY mentality that I've had ever since I started my business. The clear challenge with delegating tasks is finding the right incentive, be it money, chocolates, or a heartfelt plea. By passing duties on to others, you not only check off your to-do list, but you also gain extra time and peace of mind. Clearly, whoever claimed you can't buy happiness never enjoyed the services of a skilled accountant. The irony of delegation, though, is that it can sometimes require just as much time to teach someone else how to do a task as it is to just do it yourself. But that's a long-term play that you have to consider. If they're only going to do that task one time, maybe it's not worth the additional time. But if they're going to do it consistently every month, then maybe it is worth the effort to get them ramped up. Case in point with this week's invoice debacle, by the time I explained the invoicing process to someone on my team, I could easily finish them myself. However, I just realized this while talking that I could also just record the process and have them follow that in the future. Then the next time the invoices come around, I can delegate with the click of a button and boom, efficiency meet your new best friend, Loom videos. Step number 3, if you can't delegate it or delete it, is to defang it. Can you tell I got too attached to starting each of these tips with the letter D? That simply means find ways to make the task seem less daunting or overwhelming. Here's a couple ways to shrink that mountain into a molehill. Number 1, break it into smaller tasks. Now, I know this is a cliche advice at this point, but it does work. Instead of thinking about the entirely completed project, being completely caught up on my finances, for example, think about the individual task it takes to get there. So just sending a couple of invoices, reconciling just a couple of expenses, etc., not every single step. Part 2, you can embrace the 80-20 rule. Sometimes the intimidating part of a task is thinking about what it's going to take to get it 100% complete. The reality is that not all tasks really have to be done 100% all of the way, at least not right now. After all, done is better than perfect. It turns out I don't actually need to completely revamp the design of my invoices. The current version is good enough, and I could just hit send. Tip number 3, you can start at the beginning. Overcoming the inertia of not doing a task is sometimes the hardest part of doing it. Reframe what success for the moment looks like, not by saying that everything is completed, but rather by getting to the fact that you just started. I don't actually have to send every single invoice out today. All I have to do is send out the most outstanding ones that clients have actually asked about. Then I can either ride that momentum and keep sending them along, or at least be one step closer for the next day. And finally, you can also just make it fun. Duh. I mean, if a task feels like a chore, find a way to jazz it up. I've been meaning to check out the new Eminem album, and it's not exactly toddler-friendly carpool music, so it could be perfect for crunching numbers instead of riding in the car with my daughter. And the final step to tackling that task is to deadline it. That's right, we're sticking with the D theme, and so let's just pretend like deadline is a verb. Now, I often joke that I don't procrastinate, but I do believe in just-in-time productivity. My tendency to procrastinate has successfully guided me through high school, university, a career at P&G, and entrepreneurship. I mean, about the only thing that I didn't procrastinate on was my birth, because I was born 3 weeks early. But the challenge arises if there's no clear external deadline for a task, nothing that you can procrastinate up until and then finally get that things done. Like these sneaky invoices don't demand immediate attention. And creating deadlines when none exist is an art form, especially when your task lacks that inherent urgency. So here's how I've managed to get things done. 1, become accountable to someone. The most effective method I've found for making deadlines stick is to make them public. It's one thing to have a boss dictate your schedule. It's another thing to keep your inbox pristine if you don't have any oversight. I tackle this by looping others in, whether that's by hiring a coach, committing to a partner, finding an accountability buddy, or announcing to your audience that you're going to finally send those invoices this week. So that's one thing, is to commit to someone else. You can also commit to completing the task before enjoying personal activities. Without a set deadline, I motivate myself by linking task completion to leisure activities I enjoy. I'm a regular at New York Times games like Wordle and Crossword, but I'm setting a personal new rule right now. No games until all outstanding invoices are sent. It's my personal twist on the eat the frog strategy, which is to tackle the biggest, ugliest task first to make the rest of your day smoother. Other people take the opposite approach. You can tackle the easiest task first to build a little bit of momentum. But you got to do whatever works for you as long as you just do it. Now, I wish I had the discipline and willpower to follow Nike's campaign slogan completely unprompted. I tried that method for approximately 4 months, and the invoices never got sent. But with some of the tips above, I'm finally ready to cross that dreaded item off my to-do list. How about you? Do you find yourself wrestling with procrastination, or are you a master of discipline? Share your strategies or seek advice in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and join us for more tips in the future. And I'd love to hear how you tackle your to-do list.